I get asked all the time, Luke, blank, 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 all of these questions about what happens during the buying process of a home. Here are gonna be my top 15 questions that I get asked coming right to you. I get asked, Luke, can I see this house right now? Here's the deal. Some homes are vacant and we can get into the property very quickly. In other homes, people are currently living in them. So I need to be able to get into contact with the seller to see if we can get in and see that property. Now, some people are just gonna call agent after agent after agent thinking that it's based off of their schedule. I promise you, I have an entire team that works for me, and I literally have somebody on salary 40 hours a week that only schedules showings. That is his sole job. So he is going to book that appointment immediately, right when you need to, and either myself or somebody on my team will get you into that house at the soonest you possibly can. We have your back for life, and we won't mess around with your time to be able to get into that property. We'll get in there immediately so we can get you that deal that you need. People ask me all the time, Luke, what are the first steps needed in order to buy a house? Me personally, I think what we need is a one-on-one buyer consultation. I do this through Zoom to be able to figure out what are your needs, what are your expectations, and what do you want in a home? Usually takes about 30 minutes. I'll go over market statistics, data, interest rates, and everything in between. And from that point, yes, I'll send you to a trusted lender in our local area that will get you pre-approved. That pre-approval letter we can give to the seller and say, hey, we're pre-approved for X amount, can we see the home? Those are the first steps you need in order to purchase a house so that you can turn this home buy into a blessing and not a curse, so you know how much you can afford and you know what to expect during the process. So how long does it take to buy a home? You can get pre-approved in as little as 24 hours depending on what lender you go through. Now, let's say that we search for a house and we find the house that you truly want. We will make an offer on the property and we'll usually say that the seller has up to 48 hours to accept or decline our offer. Once we go under contract, if you are using a home loan, we're typically looking at about 30 days before we close on the property. So on our end, you're looking somewhere between 30 to 45 days during the close period, just in case something does pop up, or there's some financial contingency that we have to meet depending on the loan type that you have. Then all the time we take to search for a property, go through showings and all of that in between. So on average, the average buyer takes somewhere between 2 to 6 months in order to be in their new home. Luke, can I back out of buying my home? Well, here's the deal. You have what's called a due diligence period. I typically recommend about 7 days for us to get the inspector in. We go over the report together, and then we decide what we want the seller to repair, replace, or we just accept as is. Now we negotiate back and forth, and the seller agrees to say blank, 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 and fix blank, 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 right? We're good to go, but let's say it's after the 7 days, and you just get cold feet and you wanna back out. That earnest money that you put down to the seller as for goodwill, saying, seller, please take the property off the market, I'm serious about buying it. If you back out, that money will go to them, unless something pops up. For example, the appraisal comes back, it does not meet how much you offered. Say the seller's not willing to meet you at the appraised value, you can back out, get your earnest money back. Or let's say you go through the entire financial period and the bank says, I'm sorry, I know I pre-approved you for X, but we can't get you pre-approved because you opened a credit card or bought a car or something came up. At that point, that financing contingency can save you and you can get your earnest money back. People ask me all the time, Luke, are prices negotiable? Yes, and that is why you hired me. I'm going to negotiate on your behalf to make sure that you get the best deal possible. Not only on your loan, but also on the home price, helping with closing costs, getting through the inspection period, and everything in between. If a home is only on the market for a few days, or it's typically less than 14, you can negotiate, but the home hasn't been on the market for that long. But let's say we find a home that's been on the market for over 14 days, and we see that the seller's starting to get a little bit desperate, yes, we can start to push and we can start to negotiate to make sure that you get a better deal. People ask me, Luke, will the seller fix up the house for me? Now, every single home that is on the MLS is going to have what's called an agent's remarks section that I can see. Sometimes they say that the house is being sold as is. Under no circumstances will the seller help. However, the majority of homes do not have that. So during the inspection period, if the list pops back up that there are certain things that are wrong with the home that are not cosmetic and not our normal wear and tear, the seller can repair those things for you if you do ask. Now, will they? It's completely up to them, but I'll negotiate on your behalf to try to get that done for you. But let's say you do find a home that you absolutely love. The FHA 203K loan may be a great option for you because you can have a contractor come through, say, I want new flooring, new cabinets, granite countertops, I want that wall taken down. You may have the opportunity to be able to get that finance into your loan for a one-time payment. How much does my real estate agent make by helping me buy a home? Now, typically here in the state of Georgia, we're gonna get paid 3%. If it's a new construction home, we're gonna get paid 2.5%. Now that commission gets cut in half, half goes to the agent, half goes to the broker. However, there are a lot of agents in our local area recently that are doing this. They're putting in the MLS stating if the seller agent has to do anything, show the home, sit during an inspection, or answer calls from the buyer, they can reduce the commission all the way down to 1% or even as low as $500. Which for me, with the admin team that I have, that $500, I'm going to be in the red, so it's not worth it. So please, if you do use a real estate agent, use them and do not contact the seller's agent for anything at all. Use us, we have your back. So how much am I gonna pay in closing costs when I buy a home? Now, you're ranging anywhere from 2 to 5% of the total price of the house for closing costs. I know that sounds crazy, that's expensive. It can be. However, the reason it's such a big gap between 2 and 5% is completely dependent on how you purchase the home. Let's say you're paying all cash and you're only gonna have attorney fees, inspection, and maybe you pay for an appraisal, you're looking right around 2%. But let's say that you're using a loan, you're gonna pay for the appraisal, you end up paying for an inspection out of your own pocket, you have title fees, you have escrow, you have lender fees, and all of those things in between do stack up. Now, you can sometimes ask the seller to help you pay for those fees, but it is completely dependent on what they're willing to do. If you need help with this, please shoot a comment below and I'll send you a calculator on how much you might be paying depending on what type of loan that you have, and also based off of credit score and everything in between. What is earnest money when I go to buy a home? Well, earnest money is your commitment to the seller saying, hey, please take this home off the market. I'm serious about buying it. And what you do within 3 days is you write a check and you give it to the attorney's office. Let's say it's a $300,000 house. That check is gonna be $3,000. Now, during the inspection period, your due diligence, you can get that money back if you find stuff on the inspection that you didn't know was going to pop up. You can pull back and get that money if anything happens. But let's say you back out for no reason after the due diligence period, that money goes to the seller and that money clears up the time that they could have had it on the market finding other buyers. What is title insurance and why am I about to drop $1,000 on it? When it comes to title insurance, it's really a backup plan because what happens during the title search, if for some reason, let's say the home that you're buying, the seller didn't actually own the property and you don't do a title search and the attorney's office completely drops the ball. This should not happen, but if for any reason it does and you're living in your house for 2 to 3 years, you could potentially run the risk of having to forfeit the property and you have to move all your stuff out even though you've been paying on it. There's so many problems that can happen. 100% of the time, I would recommend title insurance. Now, you may be able to scoot by if you buy a new construction house, although even with my new construction home that I bought, I still paid for title insurance just in case if the builder had some kind of discrepancy with the person that used to own the land that my house is currently on. I know it's a hassle, I know it's extra money out of your account, but 100% of the time, I would recommend buying this. People ask me all the time, Luke, how can I save money when I buy a house? How can I get a good deal? There's really 3 things that it comes down to. Number 1, shopping lenders to be able to get the best price possible. Number 2, negotiating the price of the home up front. So say it's a $300,000 home, negotiating the total purchase price will help you out. However, negotiating the purchase price is not the best way to save money. And the reason I say that is sure, it might knock off $10, $20, $30 a month on your mortgage. However, the real money that I think you're trying to make during the buying process is the money that you're gonna pay during closing costs, that 2 to 5% range of how much you'll have to come out of your checking account. Now, If you know a good agent that's gonna do a proper comparable market analysis on the property that you're going to buy, and let's say somebody listed it for $300, but we find out it's worth $310. What we can do is offer $305,000, ask for $5,000 towards closing costs, which essentially the seller's getting the same amount of money that they wanted. However, if I know it's worth $310, you just got $5,000 in equity and you save $5,000 out of your checking account. How much is a home inspection when you go and buy a home? Now here in the Middle Georgia area, you're really looking at $275 on the low end, $350 in the medium, and then about $400 if you just buy a huge home. And there's a few different things that depend. Is it on a slab or is there a crawl space? Now an inspector is going to charge more money to put on all their gear and to crawl through the crawl space to make sure that everything is okay with the foundation of your property. 100% of the time, this is worth every dollar. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're an investor or you're buying a new construction home. There is 24 discrepancies on my new construction home, even to the point where in my attic, there was vents ventilating wet air the wrong direction, and I would have had mold, mildew, and rot in my attic, and I would have no idea known if I didn't get a home inspection. Quick shout out to Terry Frank's Home Inspection. If you want one of the best home inspectors in the area, please comment below. I'd love to send you their website. And no, I'm not sponsored. Terry, if you want to sponsor me, please give me a little cash, just a little bit. So who's gonna pay for the home inspection when you buy a house? And that is actually gonna be you. You can negotiate with the seller to pay on your behalf, but I, with all of my experience that I've had, have never had that happen before. You're the one that wants to buy the home, and here in the state of Georgia, we have what's called a buyer beware state. So it's up to the buyer to do their due diligence on the home that they're purchasing. So you're gonna be the one coming out of pocket anywhere from $275 to about $400. How much should I put down when I buy a house? Hey, I'm not a financial advisor. This isn't financial advice. However, it really depends on your situation. But if you put down anything less than 20%, you are going to pay what's called private mortgage insurance. This PMI is going to stack up and you're gonna be wasting a lot of money. So a lot of people say, yes, 20% down is awesome. However, with the current market conditions that we're in, let's say you're a veteran and let's say you have at least a 30% disability rate. At that point, not only can you get a 0% down, but you also can get PMI insurance waived so you don't have to pay that fee. And also with how supply and demand is, here in the next 2 to 3 years, when interest rates go down, buyer demand skyrockets, there still is just about the same amount of homes for sale. Your home's price is going to go up in value, putting more equity in your pocket. So if you need any insider secrets on how you can get that done for you and make sure that you get the right down payment, please comment below. I'd love to be able to get in contact with you and show you exactly how to do it. How do you find a good lender when you want to buy a home? My recommendation, if you're not in the Middle Georgia area watching this, is to go on Google and find the top 3 Google rated loan officers. Call all of them, interview, kind of come up with a pros and cons list, and then choose from there. Hey, thank you for staying to the end of the video. If you were actively working with me and I didn't answer all the questions that you had, please feel free to text me and I'll make sure that I get right on it. Or if you're just watching this video for the first time and you don't know who I am, feel free to either get in contact with me, my information's in the description below, or simply type a comment and I'll shoot you the answer.